Let's look at text within music. In the right panel of write mode, you'll find a load of text things, mainly at the bottom of the panel. I already touched on chord symbols, and I'm afraid I'm not going to get to figured bass in this course. Rehearsal marks are pretty easy. Select something on the page, click the button, or type Shift-A. Dorico will automatically keep track of the sequence of rehearsal marks, so if I add one up here, and then another one back there, you'll see this third one change. And you can change whether you want letters, numbers, or boxed bar numbers globally in engraving options, and locally in the properties panel. And of course, if you prefer them circled rather than boxed, or you want to adjust the default positioning, that's also in engraving options. Hopefully you're seeing this as a running theme in this program. I'm not going to go into huge detail on fingering, but it's this button or Shift-F, and it accepts most input, but it is instrument specific, so if you want, for instance, guitar fingering, PIMAE, that'll only work on guitars and fretted instruments. If you've got something like a triad on piano, you can select the whole chord by clicking on the stem, or by clicking a single note and then either Tab or Command-Shift-A to select more, that's Control-Shift-A on Windows, then Shift-F. Then separate the numbers with commas like this, and see how that's actually setting a separate property for each note, so you could edit them down here rather than in the popover. Lyrics, if you're inputting something with lyrics, are this button, or Shift-L, and just type into the popover. And when you hit hyphen or space, it'll automatically jump to the next note. If you've got a melisma, then you'll need to hit hyphen or space to keep extending. The left and right arrow keys jump backwards and forwards, allowing you to skip ahead or go back and edit. By default, I'm typing into verse 1, as indicated by the 1 in the popover. Hit the down arrow to get as many verses as you like. If you go up again to 1 and then keep typing up, you'll get a C, which indicates chorus. This will be centered automatically between the verses, and it'll be italic. Now, if you type Alt up or Alt down, it won't change the verse number or whether you're in a chorus or not. It'll give you an asterisk, which indicates you're typing a translation. You can also adjust this stuff after the fact in the Properties panel, plus you can make any syllable or word italic. And even in write mode, this lyric text alignment property changes the spacing of the lyric relative to the note. And again, for things like this show verse number property, you're mostly best off doing it in engraving options if you're in Pro. You can also copy and paste blocks of text from anywhere into the lyric popover. So I've prepared some really profound lyrics. Dorico can't put hyphens in for you though, so I'll stick one in pencil. Then I'm going to select these lyrics in my text editor, copy, and then come over to Dorico, type Shift-L, and then Command-V, or Control-V on Windows. And each time I type Command-V, it's going to paste another syllable and move to the next note. For the other voices, I'm going to put an on the first measure, and Alt-click it to put it into the other staves. Now for this lost, because the soprano one is a single note, and the alto has a melisma, if I grab it and Alt-click it to the alto, it's not going to get the extender line. But if I type Command-C to copy it, then click the alto note and fire up the lyrics popover and paste in there, I can extend it with space. Then for pencil, I'll click Pen, Command-click Sil, copy, paste into the lyrics popover, hyphen, hyphen, paste. And then I can grab both of these and Alt-click them because they'll match. And then if I grab pencil again, copy, lyrics popover, paste, hyphen, paste, and so on. And if you want to alter multiple lyrics quickly, you can select a lyric, right-click, Lyrics, Edit Line of Lyrics, and then type your lyrics in here. And hit OK. Note that each staff has independent lyrics, so if I change the tenor line, it's not going to change the others. Tempo marks have their own section in the right panel, and just as a reminder, it's Shift-T, and Dorico splits these up into various different types of marking. Tempo markings show up at the top of the system, but obviously they'll show up on every part layout, so if I've got 4 string players here, it's going to show up in the violin 1 part, the violin 2 part, and so on. Now the text icon here doesn't show a key command, and that's because there are 2 different ones by default. Shift-X is staff attached text, so it'll show above or below whichever stave it's attached to in the score, dependent on this position property, and also in that player's part. But if you type Shift-Alt-X on any stave, you get system attached text, which looks exactly the same in the score. It doesn't matter which staff you start on, it'll always go above the top of the system. But just like tempo marks and rehearsal marks, that's going to show up in all the parts. So I've used it here to indicate this air and variation, which are actually contained in the same flow. When you launch either of these, you don't get a popover, you get a cursor and this text toolbar. And here you can set your bolds, your italics, make it bigger or smaller, do all sorts of fancy spacing things. But, and I'm going to be irritating here, particularly if you have Pro, I need to draw your attention to this list of paragraph styles. Just like in all good word processors, you can create your own paragraph styles, and I'll come back to that later in the course. And then from the properties panel, there are a couple of nifty things, like you can put a border around a text object, and if it's at the start of a system, you can use this property to align the text with the start of the system rather than the first beat, like I've done here.